Welcome to Hoffman's Hunting Heritage. Load your quiver, camo up, and join us for another great episode of Outdoors Action. Here is your host, Bill Hoffman.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Hoffman's Hunting Heritage and the Bowhunting Soul Podcast. We're doing a swap cast, guys. On the line with me is Emrah Oruc, the host of Bowhunting Soul Podcast. What's going on, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm glad we could hook up.
Yeah, I reached out to you because I really enjoyed your podcast. And we're both kind of, newer to the game. At least I am with this season. And I was like, wow, for this guy only being 10 or 12 episodes in, he's kicking ass. So good work, brother.
Well, thank you. When I started to get into it, I kind of did it for me. It was never for me meant to be like, to grow it huge, and not that it's big, but, grow it huge or monetize it or anything like that. So, I don't have a ton of subs. I don't have a ton of downloads, but, every time it's, people find it and, I get onesie, twosies here and there. So I'm just kind of doing it, for, to relay what I know, what little I know, and the things that I know and the things that I don't know, I talk to people about. So.
Yeah, no, there's nothing greater than talking to, having a podcast like this and be able to talk to some of your heroes. Just looking at the guys, Warren Womack, and I've been able to talk to the bone collector guys over the years, and just, having a reason to reach out to some of the people in the industry that are just not that necessarily that we look up to, of course we do, but that are just fun to talk to is one thing. But the other thing is we actually help people with our shows. And then the final thing is I've made a ton of good friends in podcasting like you and some of the other guys out there. So, it's just, it's a really cool medium for reaching out, and it's available to everyone. So, well, what we're going to do with this, guys, is we had talked about maybe like splitting up, because our shows have a little bit different format. The Bowhunting Soul is a little bit longer format, longer interview, and you guys know I like to keep it right to about 20, 25 minutes. I'm your Monday morning drive outdoors podcast, but so we're going to split the difference here and talk for a little bit. But so Bowhunting Soul, why don't we just get into bow hunting? How'd you get started in the outdoors, man?
Well, I never had, I never had any family that hunted or anything like that. And honestly, the quick answer is I don't know. But, I always like to do stuff outdoorsy kind of thing, but, I never really got into guns or hunting or archery or anything like that until later in life. I was like, I think probably in like late high school or early college. I can't remember. I was living in Delaware. My buddy, Brian, and I decided to go, trap shooting. And, there's a public range there, called, Oma Land and Range. I don't know if it's still there or not. And, it was pretty cheap, so we'd go and we're like, hey, let's go buy some shotguns. So, we ended up with Remington 870s, and we'd go and, do trap and skeet and this and that. And then, he had a younger brother, Craig, and, he got involved in it too. So we were, we kind of transitioned into, hey, why don't we go and try hunting? We knew nothing. We made a lot of mistakes. Didn't shoot anything, shot a couple doves and some rabbits and things like that, but, certainly no deer back then. Mm-hmm. Not that there was no deer for us back then.
Where were you? I hate to interrupt. Where were you at this time?
This was Delaware.
Delaware. Okay. All right.
Yeah, this was Delaware. And, so basically just kind of just grew from there. Just, I always, I kept my love of firearms and things like that. And then it just kind of naturally drifted into archery. He and I think both bought PSE Novas, and I had that thing for a long, long time.
Oh yeah.
I never killed
that one. I remember that bow.
Yeah, and it's, people laugh at it, but in the right hands, anything can get it done, right?
Oh, any bow.
Yep. So it just kind of grew from there. And then, when I got into, when I got into racing, actually, I ended up traveling a lot. You kind of turn into a gypsy. I worked for a race team, and I kind of gave up hunting, or just didn't have time for it. I gave up a lot of hobbies, for, I don't know, maybe like, I don't know, 10 years maybe, or 8-10 years, something like that. And I actually, picked it up, back in about 2006 again, 6 or 7, something like that. And I've been really, really hardcore into it the last, I'm going to say like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. And real quick, when you say racing, tell people what kind of racing you're doing. We're not talking about mountain bikes and funny yellow jerseys, are we?
No. I work for a team called Durhog Motorsports. We race in the Trans Am series. It's a series that probably a lot of people may or may not have heard of. No, we don't race Pontiac Trans Am. The Pontiac Trans Am was named after the race series, which was started in 1960. It's a road racing series. So,
cool.
So we have like Camaros and Corvettes and things like that. And we do some other stuff. So right now I'm in Ohio. We're racing this weekend at the Mid Ohio Motorsports Complex, and last weekend we were at Indianapolis actually. So this is the middle of a 2-week back-to-back trip for me, and I'm a crew chief on one of the cars, and I've been in racing since 2000. So that's kind of what I do.
That's pretty damn cool. So what kind of bow you shooting this year?
It depends. I have my 2011 Elite Pure, which is my one and only compound now. Sold off the rest of them. And then I've gotten really heavy into traditional archery in the last, I'm going to say, 3 years. So I've got a 59 Bear Kodiak replica, which is, it's a 2018 model, but it's a 59 Kodiak. And I've got a 1966 Bear Kodiak Magnum and a 1966 Bear Grizzly. They just happened to be 1966 bows when I happened to pick them up and trade.
Right.
And then I have Omega Original Longbow. So I kind of alternate through those. But my love, the one I reach for the most, and it sounds weird, but I caress when I walk by, is that 59 Kodiak. I mean, this is beautiful.
Yeah, you can't. Anytime you got and obviously it's not a Grayling, Michigan made bear bow, which is kind of like the holy grail, for us Michigan guys up here. But anytime you got something with old Freddie's name on it, it puts a little kick in your soul, if you get what I'm saying. It's just it's paying tribute, paying homage to one of the great pioneers.
Absolutely. I mean, just picking up those old bows. Like I said, both of my, the two, they're both 1966. I was born in 74, so this thing's like older than I am and still shoots, way better than I can if I do my part, kind of thing. And, it's cool walking around with a little bit of history in your hand, in the woods.
Yeah. And everyone knows I'm a longbow guy. I'm a recurve guy. I'm a trad guy. I own crossbows. I've shot deer with crossbows and, compound, lots of deer with compounds. And, so I say, hunt your hunt, shoot your shoot, as long as it's legal, God bless. But for me, I am definitely, a trad guy. I like the science and the geekiness behind trad, and I like to work and the DIY aspect of trad as well. And, we have a mutual friend, I believe, in Jason Samkoviak, who hosts the Traditional Wilderness and Outdoors podcast. And, I'm blessed I'm blessed to have Jason live close to me, so we're actually friends away from the podcast, in real life. And he has a line of t-shirts out just like you do. We're going to talk about your t-shirts in a minute, but one of his t-shirts says the how matters. And that's my reason for traditional, but what's your reason for traditional?
Well, I didn't know you were going to ask me that. I'm prepared for that answer. I don't know. I think it's because, I think I got sucked, I'm going to say sucked into, and not in a bad connotation, but
right.
I started reading Traditional Bowhunter magazine even before I had a traditional bow, because I got sick and tired of, not shooting a compound. I still like shooting a compound every now and then. I like the technical aspect of all that. I like the technical aspect, regardless of what some people, seem to say, the trad police seem to say about traditional bows. There's a lot of technical stuff that goes on with traditional bows, but I just really like the image of, pick the scene, right? It's a guy standing, in the woods or on a kind of like a hilltop, with his hand propped on his bow, and then the bow limb kind of sitting on his foot, kind of thing, just looking off, just that image, or maybe the image of a guy, at full draw, I mean, that's just, it's soul stirring, I think. And I thought, man, And then so I picked up the magazine because I'd gotten tired of, I used to read all like the Bow Hunter and Easton's Bow Hunting and this, that, and the other. And they're just all like completely, driven by, advertisers, it's like, this is the latest and greatest. And, as the deer rounded, I picked up my such and such, rangefinder, and I drew back my Matthews such and such, and, hit the trigger on my Scott such and such release. And I'm just like, all they're doing is like packing in, if this was online, it would be like tags, right? It'd be like full of tags.
No, it's the, I call it the NASCAR hunting effect.
Exactly. But traditional Bowhunter magazine, it was about the hunt. Yeah, they mention, at the end of it, they say, I shot, such and such person shot this bow with this arrow with this broadhead. Done, right?
Right.
But you take away the weapon out of those stories, and the hunting story still exists. It's still there. Like, that's like the meat of everything. And it takes you to a time and a place, and you can experience the adventure along with these people, regardless of the weapon. And then it just happened to be that these people were, writing stories, in a traditional magazine. So then I just, okay, I'm going to pick one of these things up, and it was a Samick stage, and, great bow. Nothing wrong with those things. You can pick up, you can go to any, Bass Pro, Cabela, Three Rivers, Lancaster, whatever, and for $150 out the door, let's say 300 all up total with everything you'd ever need to go, you can go kill anything in North America.
Yep. Exactly.
So that's kind of how I got into it. And then me being, I geek out on tuning, right? And I like doing all my own stuff, regardless of the weapon, for my guns, I hand load. I even, I cast my own bullets and things like that. So, I mean, why should it stop with traditional archery? And then I got into it, and I'm like, man, it's not just as simple as, picking a spot and letting it go. I mean, maybe that's what it boils down to in the execution, but there's a lot of science and a lot of physics going on to launch this projectile downrange. No matter how, simple people want to make it seem, there's actual math going on there, So I just like, playing around with stuff like building arrows and, why does it do this? And what happens if I do this to point weight, or what, if I shorten the arrow or change the, brace height or what have you. So I've just been, totally tinkering and sucked into that. And that's what a lot of what my YouTube channel is too, is just kind of, explaining some of the stuff and, explaining it to people that may not be this deep into it or may have the same kind of questions. And trying to do it in a way that maybe makes sense that they may not have heard somewhere else before. I tend to, I'm rambling on now, but I tend to repeat myself. My wife always says I repeat myself all the time, but for me, that's the way I learn. It needs to be drummed into my head over and over and over again, so, I don't know. I don't even know if I answered your question or not.
No, you absolutely did. And you mentioned your YouTube channel and the way you break things down. I think that's one of the things that drew me towards you. So when it comes to trad archery, for me, in my friend group, I'm known as like the bear shaft guru. I'm right. Like, take your bow to Hoffman, he'll figure it out, or he'll work with you to get it. I belong to an archery club here. I got a lot of guys talking to me about their setups and working on them with their front of center and their grains per pound and like all the math stuff that I geek out about. I don't think they actually end up caring that much about it, but they know it's right, and I know it's right, so it works out. But here's the thing: bear shaft tuning. We're not really going to get into it too deep here, but here's where I'm going to give you some praise, my brother, is because it's hard to explain bear shaft tuning in words. It's pretty simple concept when you're at the range and doing it. But you did an episode on bear shaft tuning, and when I started playing that, I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to be a bunch of jargon that's not going to... And you really broke it down and did a really good job on that episode. I still don't think podcasts are the best way to... The best medium to learn how to bear shaft tune. I think the best video out there for you guys that are looking, Grizzly Jim has two videos on bear shaft tuning, and he's such a delight anyway, just to listen to him talk. I think those are probably the best two videos, but lots of other people have bear shaft tuning videos. Hell, I'll probably end up making one, but the things you do with your show and your YouTube, I just agree. The way you break things down and make it simple for everybody, because you can throw any technical aspect of bow hunting or arrow building or spine dynamics out there, I'm going to know what you're talking about because I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I get it. Like, right. But most guys starting out, a lot of that stuff can just, breeze right by them. And I think, I just want to give you props. You do a really good job with breaking that down. I think you might have been like a teacher in a past life.
well, thanks. I tried to make it into, like almost in layman's terms, because to me it's important. It's important to have, I think you can have both. You can have the technical side and still have the mystique of, traditional archery and the flight of the arrow and all that stuff, because there's some guys that don't want to get into this because it feels like it takes away from, what the quote unquote, the spirit of traditional archery should be. And whoever was the arbiter of that, I have no idea. Somehow got decided.
Blow it out your ass. Fred Baird used acrylic and glass and fiberglass and come on.
Exactly. And I did an episode, Beware the Trad Police, and man.
Oh yeah. That was a good one.
I got banned from Trad Gang, and I'm not even on Trad Gang. Like I would go on there and just kind of read, and whatnot. I've never posted on there, right? And I'm not gonna do a Trad Gang bash session. Don't get worried. But, I read a thing on there, like, I think it was called, like, What Have We Come To or something like that. And somebody had, like, heard my, episode. And there's just a bunch of people that jumped in, like, oh my God, this guy. And, he sounds like I'm 45. He sounds like a 20-year-old, know nothing, this, that, and the other.
You do sound young, though. You know that, right?
Well, I mean, I didn't even think, maybe I called them, crusty old curmudgeons, right?
Right.
And I love that phrase, and I know Steve Angel too uses that phrase. So props to Steve Angel in the traditional outdoors too. But
which cracks me up about Steve, because I know Steve has said the phrase "get off my lawn" multiple times.
Yeah, exactly. So and I stopped reading it. I stopped reading the poem, like whatever. And I actually, I tried to reach out over there to the powers that be, and I was immediately blocked. I was blocked before I could even reach out, saying, "Hey, that was me that put out the podcast." And I stand by what I said, because there's a lot of people that, whether they're new to traditional archery or really experienced in traditional archery, they feel like outcasts and kind of like put down when they want to talk about things like tuning and, bear shafting and actually trying to break down the science behind some of the stuff.